So here's some musical truth. If you don't know the basic notes and the way that they're structured, it's difficult to get very far in music. Not knowing the basic musical spectrum of notes limits your ability to improvise, play with other musicians, and to write your own songs. The first thing that you need to learn is the overall layout of the 12-note musical spectrum and some basic rules that apply. This will help you understand things about the major and minor scales, chord structure, and chord progression structure. The spectrum is made up of 12 notes, which include sharps and flats. A sharp note is a note that is one note higher than the original note, and a flat note is one note lower than the original note. For example, A sharp is one note higher than A, and A flat is one note lower than A. However, every note that is a sharp is also a flat, and vice versa. C sharp, for example, is also D flat because it rests between those two notes. It's one note lower than D and one note higher than C, so it carries both names. What you call the note depends on what key you're playing in, and really to go any further into key signature might be too complex for now. So for the purpose of this session, I'll always refer to those notes as sharps. So here is the 12-note musical spectrum. I started with C because it's typically the center note for pitch on a piano. You can start this 12-note musical spectrum with any of the notes and go in order, and you should always end up on the octave of the note you started with. One note across the musical spectrum of notes to the same note in a higher or lower pitch is called an octave. Here are some basic rules to keep in mind when memorizing the notes of the musical spectrum. First, the notes are A through G in alphabetical order. Second, there is no note between E and F or B and C, meaning there's no sharp or flat between E and F or between B and C. Third, no matter what note you begin with, you should always end up on the same note, and the number of notes should be 12. So work on memorizing these notes, their order, and their relationship to each other. As you look at the major and minor scales, your basic knowledge of notes will determine how quickly you grasp the concepts of harmony, melody, and so much more. Remember the 3 rules, and you should have the musical spectrum memorized in no time at all.